you doing did you join your church has it's called the Entrepreneur Hub. I don't know if you know
No,
Tiffany Bethia. Yeah, because they have an initial meeting tonight. I got to see if I can send you because I think you have to register, so I can't just send you. Well, I can send you the note that I got because I happen to see it. It might be on the website.
yeah.
But Tiffany Bethia is one of
Wait a minute, we
the
on
poet.
live. We live. You know we live,
Oh, I'm
right?
sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, but that's okay. But I'm in other groups. I'm not in that one.
Okay.
I'm not I'm not in that one, but I am in other clubs and I'm running a club too.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'll talk to you about that. Welcome
Okay.
to More Than Just a Movie, where we break down classic black films. You know that's my brother. We over here talking
We
before
talking business.
we talking goodness. We talk about entrepreneurship. We talking about church houses. We, say a little prayer before we do each episode to be able to smile or, have somebody smile or make their day, because we don't know what people are going through. So if we can bring some light and love or reminiscent, memories of their
let,
favorite movies, you know
let
what I
me
mean?
tell you, it's some folk.
Yeah.
It's folk. 2023 coming in. I was telling somebody yesterday. 2023 coming in like Mike Tyson, throwing some haymakers
Swing,
because I mean just swinging. So
swing. So we
this
can
is
do our
something
parts and
light.
just make you laugh. Yeah. Make you laugh, make you think about some things, you know what I mean? Reminisce on where you were and what had happened when. So today, more than just a movie, Leroy and I were talking on this now, but Leroy and I were talking, and I was like, did we do Poetic Justice? Because this is our fourth season. So I was like, did we do Poetic Justice? And Leroy was like,
Yeah.
we had to have done Poetic Justice because it is a classic. And I went through everything as I'm doing again right now just to make sure. And we've done so many classic movies, but we have not done Poetic Justice, which seems crazy. It's an all star cast. And that's what we're going to do. More than just a movie. Let's get right into it. Poetic Justice. Poetic Justice, we didn't do it, but it came out July 23rd, 1993. Now, I have to say, I was living in Vegas then, and me and my ex-husband went to go to the drive-in movie to go see Poetic Justice in the heat of Las Vegas. That dry heat,
Yeah.
we were in the car watching Poetic Justice, which was
They had
crazy
drive-ins out there at
because
that time.
uh-huh, yeah.
Hmm.
So, but what is crazy is that there was a drive-in movie in Poetic Justice. So we are in the drive-in movie watching Poetic Justice. And then, like, wait a minute, they in the drive-in too, which was cool. And that was July 23rd, 1993. I had just had my very first child. And I was 22 years old when I saw that. So the budget was $14 million to make it, and the box office numbers are $27.5 million. Now, this is directed by John Singleton and produced by John Singleton. It has won MTV Musical Movie Awards for it. It had won. No, it was not because I don't think it won MTV Award for Most Desirable Female. I guess theirs was Janet, right? And so Janet won. Janet was nominated for that. Tupac was nominated for NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actor in a Motion Picture in 1994. NAACP was also Janet was also nominated for the same one, and award for Best Female Performance. Now, was Janet Jackson. All right, so this you have seen it. First of all, if you have not seen Poetic Justice, then you had to have just been born because it's a classic. So we're going to blame your parents if you have not seen Poetic Justice. Poetic Justice is about a still grieving after a murder of her boyfriend, hairdresser Justice, who is played by Janet Jackson, writes poetry to deal with the pain of her loss. Unable to get to Oakland to attend a convention because of her broken down car, Justice gets a lift with her friend, Isha, they call her, Janet calls her in that, Regina King, and Isha's postal worker boyfriend, Chicago's own Joe Torre. Our Chicago's co-worker is Lucky, played by my boy, to whom Justice grows close after some initial problems, but is she ready to open her heart again? So that is the journey. And I must say that all the poetry was written by Maya Angelou. So Leroy and I were like all-star cast. So let's talk about who was in this movie. Tupac Shakur, Janet Jackson, Regina King, Joe Torre, Maya Angelou, Jennifer Lewis, Yvette Wilson, Q-Tip, Tyra Farrell, Candy Alexander, Michael Rappaport, Tone Loc, Maia Campbell, Lori Petty, Roger Genevieve Smith, Michael Collier, Keith Washington, hello somebody, Derek D. Goldberg, he played also, he was in Boys in the Hood. Robbie Reed was in it. She was just the woman sitting on the couch. We have talked about Robbie Reed here on this podcast. Mickey Howard, Ricky Harris, the late great Ricky Harris, comedian Ricky Harris, and Keenan Ivory Wayans. All right, so this is Poetic Justice, 1993. Where were you, Leroy, in 1993?
I was a year out of college, and I'm trying to think of where I went to see it. You know, I can't remember yesterday, yet alone 30 years ago. 30 years ago. So, and if you were born anywhere between 1993 and 2010, I ain't blaming your mom. I'm blaming you because you should have seen this movie by now. Because it's one of the hallmark movies of John Singleton. You know, I mean, because he did Boys in the Hood first, and then I think Poetic Justice was the next movie right behind that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that came out 93. And I can't, even though I'm saying 1993, it doesn't seem like 30 years ago.
Yeah, today this year will make 30 years. And I'm just like, I mean, wow. But you know what I noticed? A lot of stuff that we're seeing, especially when it comes to music and movies, um, are really coming from that 80s and 90s era. Because in the Grammys they just celebrated, didn't they just do the hip hop 50? Believe it, I mean hip hop being 50 years old, So I mean the music that just not well. I mean, but you got to think that was, to me, I think the 70s, 80s, and 90s was the best era of music, sports, just entertainment all together. When you put music, sports, entertainment, when you put all of those together, it had the most talent. It had the best movies. I was talking about Claudine earlier today, the movie Claudine. But that was the best. I was listening to the Commodore Sail On earlier today. Didn't even realize that was a Be Gone song. That was like a breakup song. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. He telling her to get gone, because you know how you listen to lyrics and you really not paying attention. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. I was like, oh, that's what he meant by sail on. It was like, get gone. But that era, era of of music and movies was so, I mean, it was so good. I mean, and that's what makes what we do here with
Yeah.
the, with the more than just a movie, because the movies that we've grabbed have all been from that
Mhm.
era, have been
Yep.
right in that era.
Yep.
It's just that just shows you
Yep.
the amount of talent, the amount of good stories,
Yep.
the amount of good
Yep.
music, even the soundtrack that
Yep.
that went with Poetic Justice. Because
Yep.
I love I don't know how much you like jazz, but um what's his name, the soundtrack, the movie soundtrack song, Justice Groove.
Terrence Blanchard. Yeah. Oh yeah, Justice Groove. Yeah.
No, Stanley Clark. That's it, Stanley
Yeah.
Clark. I love that song because I love jazz, but that
Mhm.
song is so powerful. It's a powerful
Mhm.
song that
Yeah.
goes right with this movie,
Yeah.
and everything that Justice represents, who she is, and then the story that gets told about
Yeah.
her and everything. Like even from the beginning, when they're at her and Q-Tip, her boyfriend, at the time, were at the at the drive-in, not the movie theater, they were at the drive-in. I mean, and that was like, that's
Yeah.
a powerful way to start a
Yeah.
movie off. I was like, oh,
Right.
it's
I
a
was like,
very,
what is happening?
I was like,
I was like,
whoa,
so you think gonna be in this movie long? I was like,
yeah,
Q-Tip
because
ain't gonna be in this movie long.
right, and it was even they were watching a movie, so you had a movie within a movie, and I was like, okay, how are they starting it? What is he doing?
I
You
know.
know, and even I guess even the movie that they went to they went to the drive-in to see. I was like, what
I know.
it's
I
just
was
cause
wondering why they decided to do that. Did he want to work with Lori Petty, and that was the only way
and
he
Billy
would fit in?
Zane,
What made him? Yeah. So what made them want to do the movie inside of the movie for them to be there? Did they have to, or it was because he wanted somebody to get shot at the
at a
drive-in? So
drive-in,
then
yeah,
they had to have they watch something. You have to have
right,
copyright. So maybe it got to be your movie. So imagine he had to
yeah,
work on 2 movies.
right,
Because
right.
that still had to be produced, filmed,
It
directed
within that, yeah.
within that. So probably because you can't just put up any movie if you don't own the copyright. So he was like,
Or you
I'm
have to,
gonna make
yeah, it
the
has to be
movie for
licensed.
you.
Yeah, if
Right.
it's licensed, you can buy to use it. But yeah, but
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 think about
definitely,
how young he was as a film guy. So
yeah,
he probably didn't have all of that money to license a movie that so he created, and then it gave him another opportunity to work with more people.
yeah. And he had a limited. I mean, the budget was only 14 million. So
Yeah.
1993. That's a lot of money in 1993.
Yeah.
But still, you like we said, you just gave a list of
Yeah.
people. Look
Yeah.
who he was working with.
Yeah.
Them folks ain't cheap.
Yeah. It's so much happening even with that movie because if we remember, the riots were in 1992 and this was
Mhm.
in LA and he was able to use that to feature that when they were in the mail truck and they were playing TLC's
Right.
version of Prince and they were going through, the Crenshaw district. So, according to writer, producer, director John Singleton, when the 1992 Los Angeles riots occurred during filming, Tupac left the set to participate in a protest. He returned in time for filming.
That's
Yo,
Tupac
he was
though.
like, because he
That's
loved
Tupac
us.
though.
He loved us for real. Like,
That was
how
Tupac.
Malik like love y'all for real. Tupac loved us for real. He loved black people,
Yeah. And
Um,
people may not know that his mom was a part of the Black Panther Party. That's where
yes,
he
she
got his
was.
name. And he
She was
was,
in jail when she was
yeah, but
pregnant.
see, he was born, yeah, he was born in prison, which is
No, he
ironic.
wasn't. No, he was.
Oh,
She was
okay.
pregnant. She delivered him. She got out just in enough time to deliver
Oh,
him,
okay.
but
Okay.
she was
Okay.
pregnant in there. Yeah,
In
yeah.
prison with him. And that's kind of ironic though, you know what I'm saying? With
Mm-hmm.
everything that he was a part of. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but but Pac was, like you said, that was Pac. He was going to be a part of the culture and the things that needed to be said, and he was going to say it and wasn't afraid. That's what I admired about him. He wasn't afraid to
To
say,
be so young
yeah.
too.
But like I said, look who his mom was. His mom was that, so that wouldn't
His
surprise people.
stepfather. was a Black Panther as
Yeah, his
well.
father was a Black Panther too, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So they played that was an important part because I think she, I don't know if she talked about it, but this is his mom was in the Panther Party around the time with Fred Hampton. You
yeah,
know, and of course she wasn't in Chicago or nothing like that
yeah,
with where he was, but to be a part of it, it's a lot of folks, man,
yeah,
that you just when you look at their life and their histories, and you understand that you kind of see why Pac's life was the way that it was, and
yeah,
he was who he was. He was who he was.
yeah,
He was keep your head up one minute, and then I get around the next minute. That was always my thing about
yeah.
him.
But you
The
know
two
what?
that
You're rounded. Like you're not
Mhm.
a one-layered human being because he was getting around, but he could still be a protester. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, I would just say, but that was the duality of who he
Yeah,
was. He
that's a
was,
human being.
he
I
was
look at
he
it
was
as a human being.
you know.
You know?
But I look at at the cast, man, and I'm just like, especially the first three that you named, with Pop, Janet, and Regina King, them right there. That's shoot. I don't know how you have a budget of 14 million with just them three.
But Regina King wasn't Regina King back then. She was just
93.
Brenda. She was just Brenda
Yeah,
from 227. She wasn't
yeah,
what we know her of. She was
that's
just
true.
coming off of 227.
Yeah, and Pac was probably the most. Well, Janet was the hottest one, probably the two, and then Pac.
Yeah, because think
Um,
about it. Regina King had just did Boys in the Hood, which was her first,
right,
and then
right.
this. So she wasn't Regina King, enemy of the state, Regina King. She Regina King, with all the commercials on there. She wasn't,
Yeah, and
so
she hadn't even.
her budget wasn't as we think of 30 years ago. And
Yeah,
Regina
and
King
she
is
hadn't even.
only our age.
Yeah, and
So
she
she
hadn't
didn't
even done. She hadn't even done
Jerry
Jerry Maguire
Maguire,
either.
none of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, she hadn't done that one yet either. So, but
So
you know
she
who I
was
was
just
thinking
Gina.
about
She was
too?
Gina back then. She was our girl Gina back then. She wasn't Regina King. She was Brenda. She was still Brenda then.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And she's one of the ones that you think about growing up in that era, of child stars, that you
Yeah,
glad to see her coming, through,
yeah,
and it's just flourishing like she's flourishing now. I mean, she doing
yeah.
her thing. She doing her doggone thing.
And we
But
still have her in our prayers too.
yeah,
She's
oh,
dealing with
definitely,
her
for
son.
sure, for sure. Yeah, for sure,
She
for sure.
just
But
surfaced after a year on off of social media with the loss of her son, and it was for his birthday. And she put one post, and that was it.
yeah,
Yeah, so we're
yeah,
still praying for her for
yeah.
sure.
But who I was thinking about was Joe Torre. I'm like, I don't see him doing anything nowadays. He hasn't done any comedies, any kind of stand up. You would think that he would be a part of like the comedy stuff
Yeah,
that's going on right now, but you don't see him doing that. He hadn't been, I can't really see him being in too many movies or whatever, but at least the comedy
he
thing,
was then though. When he was on the roll, he was on the roll.
yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
was
he
on
definitely was.
everything. He was at when he Def Comedy Jam. Then he did independent films. I got some films from BET Films and different things like that, and other things. When he was on the roll, he was on the roll. But the
Yeah,
thing is, too, just because somebody's absent from our site, it doesn't mean
yeah,
that they fell off. He could be like, I'm doing this. He could be behind the scenes making money. You know what I mean? Or he could be like,
yeah,
you know what? I can't. Or he could be doing it, but he may do it for his own personal reasons and
yeah.
not even big. So we never know. But he's been on different people specials. Whose was he on when he was talking about somebody's biography or autobiography, something, and he
Hmm.
was one of the speakers on there.
Yeah, because
But
even his brother, who's his brother's
Guy
first name?
Tori, Guy
Guy
Tori.
Torrey. Yeah, Guy
Mhm,
Torrey. Because he was pretty funny too. Both of them
mhm.
are pretty funny. But you look at this cat. I mean, of course they had Maya Angelou on here, and I think that was actually appropriate to have her there.
Because she
Yeah,
did
she's
write
just
all the poetry,
yeah,
and
she's just
look
the
at
ultimate. Yeah, the
right.
ultimate poet. Her and Nikki Giovanni, man, they are
And
just
Sonia Sanchez. Don't forget Sonia
yeah.
Sanchez.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think. Can you think of any male poets like that have had the kind of the the acumen of a Maya Angelou. I can't think of anyone.
I can't
Maybe I'll
either.
be the first. You know what I'm saying?
Come on now. Come on. Come on, Leroy. Dr. Leroy. Dr. Leroy about to do this movie. He about to do this movie. Dr. Leroy, you better come on. You can be the first. Because the
You
only one
know.
that I'm thinking that writes eloquently like that sometimes is Eric Dyson. Eric Michael
Yeah, but
Dyson.
he's not a poet though. I don't think
No,
of poetry.
no, he's not. But I was saying when I
Yeah,
think
I'm thinking of
house
poetry.
nope.
Yeah, when I think of poetry, I think of Maya Angelou. I
You
think of
said
Nikki
Langston
Giovanni.
Hughes?
Like you said, Sonia Sanchez. Those are icons when it comes to poetry.
Other than
Man, yeah,
Langston Hughes,
yeah, yeah,
I can't
yeah.
think of Langston Hughes.
I cannot think of a male poet. I'm gonna be
Right.
honest with you.
Now that you say it.
Okay. And
All
then we
right,
got
so
the what we call her, the mother of Hollywood, Jennifer Lewis.
Jennifer Lewis. She was the aunt. She was his aunt. She played the same role in everything though. It's just
Doesn't
her
she?
way. It's just her
Yeah,
way, how she's, commands the presence with her voice and how she
yeah,
is. It seems like the same role only because it's her. Her
yeah,
voice, the way it projects and it
yeah,
really takes over the screen. Whenever she's on any screen,
yeah.
like Jennifer Lewis takes over that screen.
Yeah, yeah. She does have a commanding presence, and
Yeah,
I think that's probably even in real life she's probably like that, where she just
yeah.
commands. She's
Yeah,
one of
I
those people
read
that
a
when
book
they walk
before you.
in the room, when she walks in a room, everybody it's like the energy is going towards her.
Yeah, yeah,
That type of that type of thing. This cast, man. I mean, even like I said, I mean, I John Singer is a great writer, I
hmm
say a storyteller, and that
hmm
was the thing about telling this story of justice. You know, and we didn't even talk about, I guess, how the movie started off, because we mentioned a little bit, but we didn't really say what happened
So let's
as it
talk about.
started
You
off.
want to go? You want to talk? You want to talk about it?
Yeah,
We can.
yeah. I mean, let's talk about it. Let's go. Yeah.
Okay. You want to say it or you want me?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So the movie starts, as we were saying, like in a drive-in. But what happens is, she's with her boyfriend. She's in love. She wears white. She wears color. She's very happy with her boyfriend, who is Q-Tip. And it's been some violence around the way. You already know where they are. And someone shoots inside the car and kills her man right in front of her. So when he does that, of course, she's right there. She's traumatized like anybody would be. So now she has to pick up the pieces from her life and find some type of strength to keep living, right? So she's in her grandmom's old house. She's by herself. She's a hairstylist and she's sad. She always wears black. She's not smiling. She's not happy because that unhealed part, that trauma that happened in her life, she's trying to figure it out. And the way that she can get her feelings out is through her lyrics, her poetry. And she meets, and then Aisha is her friend. So you always got to have that crazy friend to kind of get you out of that funk, that mood, that keeps it real with you, that silly, goofy, because there's part of that how should I say, it's still part of that. They remind you of who you were before the trauma. Like they bring out that person in you. So Tupac's character Tupac and Joe Torre. So what's his name? Chicago and Lucky
And Lucky.
are postmen, Tupac and Joe. And Isha is with Chicago. So she really don't like him. He all right, but she just gonna keep doing what she do until she finds somebody else. He all right, he corny, and all the stuff that she says in the movie. So he has to take a trip to Oakland to deliver some mail from the Crenshaw area. So she goes with him to do it. So she's telling Justice, and this is crazy. This is all in my memory. This is crazy. So she's telling Justice about the trips. And Justice was like, no, absolutely not. I ain't getting no mail truck. I ain't doing that. So they both have to go to a hair show. Janet or Justice is the hairstylist, and Isha, her friend, is going to be the client. If you know anything about hair shows, you got to have a head to work on to try to compete. So they were both going to go. Justice was going to get there on her own, and Isha was going to get in the mail truck. Well, Justice turned it down until her car wouldn't start, and she had no choice. She had to get to the hair show. So she called Isha. The mail truck came and picked her up. And she looked in the car and sees the same mailman that she gets smart with, who delivers mail to the hair salon. And that's Lucky, and that's Tupac. So he like this girl, she like this guy. And she gets in the front because Isha in Chicago got business back of the mail truck. So she lets Justice get up in the front as Lucky is driving. And then you want to take it from there? And
Well,
that's
just to
crazy.
keep him, to keep him company up front too, because she was trying to hook. Isha was trying to hook Justice up with Lucky too. So yeah, so and at first, of course, you know how she's like, ew, you know what I'm saying? I'm definitely not trying to,
you don't even keep
not
your
that.
nails clean.
Right, you know. And so as they ride up to Oakland, he Lucky begins to try and have a conversation with her because she was writing. She was doing some of her writing while they were going up, and he kind of inquires, "Hey, what you writing or whatever?" And I mean, the attitude, she gave him all kinds of attitude. You know how y'all do. You know how y'all do, Kendall. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know
You know how y'all do, yeah.
I don't know what he's talking about. We don't know that.
but they start to have conversation and everything like that, and he's just like, all right, well, we got to be on this ride together, for these however many hours it was from Crenshaw to Oakland, which was a couple hours, I'm sure. Try to be cordial and have a conversation and stuff like that. The funny thing was, it's just like that had to be the longest ride I've ever seen, because they done had the different things that they encounter while they on their ride
Let's talk
from
about
Crenshaw to Oakland.
So they ride, as I said, they ride past the riots. We talked about that, which I thought was brilliant cinematography and really spotlighting on what was happening. That he strategically said, let's ride past all the Black businesses that have been burnt down by the community. Let's go back to where they said, oh, it might be built up again, and it's not. Let's go past it. So you're going to be forced to see. So you're going to be forced to see what happens when. And I thought that was amazing that he did that way, and how they were quiet and the music was playing and they were just watching. So as they were watching in the movie, we were watching, because we all remember seeing the news and watching it happen. I was living on the West Coast at that time, and being able to see that and understand that. And I think, everybody was just silent and respecting that. It's deep. It's deep. So also, before we talk about what else they encountered, Ice Cube was offered the role of Lucky, but refused because he claimed that he was not in a point in his career where he would play any romantic movies. Also, since he had already committed to the film Trespass. Yeah, I can't see Cube in that. Tupac was perfect for that. When Chicago and Isha when he hits Isha, she mentions two characters from Boys in the Hood. She says Dookie and Monster, who were often seen hanging around Doughboy. I didn't connect that. So in one scene, Justice is listening to Stevie Wonder's song Never Dreamed You Leave in Summer. 16 years later, Wonder performed the song at the memorial for Janet's brother, Michael. That's deep. That's deep. Tupac improvised many of his lines during the scenes in which Lucky talks to Jesse, which is Tyra Farrow's character, who was the owner of the salon. Yeah, because they had that banter back and forth. We'll come back. I'll come back with more trivia. They had that banter, but I also remember that Janet didn't want to kiss Tupac, but
Correct.
I heard in Janet Jackson's documentary when Regina King was on there, Regina King said her and Tupac had a romantic energy. And if it wasn't for certain things, they probably would have been together, or they might have been together. That's how she kind of hinted it. Like they had a magnetic force. If go back and watch it, came out last year on Lifetime. So if you watch that, you'll hear Regina King say, yeah, they had something.
Have you noticed that that everybody that talks about Pac, especially when it comes to these females, how I mean every single one of them have said that same kind of thing
Well,
that
his
he
birthday
had.
is the day before mine. And I know how we have that magnetic kind of. No, I'm just joking. Same age. No, I'm just joking. But
But he seemed to have that charisma,
mm-hmm,
that magnetism about
mm-hmm,
him,
mm-hmm.
because I mean, I was like looking at some of the women Pac, and I'm like, okay, Pac,
He had
you
no
wasn't
chump change.
you wasn't lying about that list if I get around.
He had no chump change though either. He had some bad girls. He had some as smart, intelligent, beautiful. You know.
Absolutely, and they all say the same thing. But none of them, I've never heard anybody say a bad thing
Mm-hmm,
about Tupac. None of
mm-hmm,
those women. None of
mm-hmm,
them have ever said anything bad about him. So when
mm-hmm,
when you talking about, I guess the it was some kind
mm-hmm,
of thing that he had to sign. I think it had to do with him having a test and making sure
mm-hmm.
that he
And he
didn't
was
have.
offended.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
He was
You know,
offended because Janet asked before she kissed him, make sure he didn't have any.
right.
I just was looking at the ticker. Tupac it was spelled funny, but I corrected it. So if you were noticing it in the beginning, if you're watching, it's changed now. But Tupac was offended because Janet asked him to take an AIDS test, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
think it was. Yeah,
make
I think it was an
sure.
age test. Yeah.
And then Tupac, I've heard Tupac say this in interviews. Him and Janet were cool. They were tight. They were close. They would talk on the phone all the time. They were vibing, like Regina King said. But Tupac also said, and we saw this in many interviews, that once the movie wrapped, Janet changed her number. He said he said he thought she was down, and he thought that he made a friend for life. He said, but it was like do do do. She changed the number after after the movie premiere. He was like, okay, Janet, and that was that.
Wow.
And that might have been also how when Bobby Brown, I'm gonna find a way to when Bobby was seeing
You gotta
Janet.
think of because she was seeing, wasn't she seeing
But
Bobby for a
there were
minute?
certain people that were able to fit in with the family
Correct.
and look a
Correct.
certain way.
Right.
And that's what her family, this is what's said. I don't know 100%, but that's what her family was okay with. But if someone was a little rough around the edges, I even heard even brown skin or past a certain shade,
Right.
her family,
Correct.
Joe Jackson was like, no, don't bring them bleep bleeps home.
Yeah.
So even if she loved them or wanted to be with them, she might not have because she wasn't in control yet, kind of. But when it came to Jermaine Dupri, she said, I don't care what none of y'all say. This is my boo. And I never seen her as happy with anybody as she was with Jermaine Dupri. And she felt like she could just be
Yeah.
herself. Even in the documentary, you can tell she was like, I don't have nothing bad to say about him other than he was married pretty much to his career and he was always out. And I used to ask Jermaine to have more time with him and spend together and but he was always in the studio.
And that's deep, because here's the thing, and I think I don't know if you and I have talked about it before, but you have a lot of women that say that they want a man that has money to provide security and all of those things and everything like that to be successful. But ladies, understand, if you're gonna have a man that's successful and really successful. And I've used the example of Tom Brady as well. You know, where if you have someone that is that successful, one, their time is going to be demanded.
Well, he
That's
retired
one of
again
the,
too, by the way.
yeah, of being successful. Your time is commanded. People want you. They want your time. So that's part of one. That's part of the sacrifice. And but even with even with, like you said, with Jermaine Dupri, with Tom Brady, you have these men that are super successful,
Mm-hmm.
and their careers mean a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we do have to find that balance.
Mm-hmm.
You got to find that balance of
Yep.
giving the person that you love and that you care about so much, to be able to spend time with them.
Yep.
Sometimes it's gonna mean you have to say no to some things.
Yep.
Like I said, that I use that Tom Brady example because Giselle, 20 years, and I don't know how, I can't remember how long they've been
He
married, but
retired again, by the way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but she was like, okay, you go do your thing. I know football is what you love. You're great at it. You've been very successful and everything. But now you're at the highlight of your career, you know, and I want you home. Your kids want you home, need
Mm-hmm.
you home to spend more time. And he chose his career.
And she
He said,
filed
no,
for
I gotta do
divorce.
this, I gotta do this one more time. And she
Mm-hmm.
was like, you know what? Go do your thing. And I'm going over here and do my thing
And
because
she filed
I
for
can
divorce.
do, so we've got to be careful, to understand, with success does come, a demanding of your time, you
Mm-hmm.
know, when it comes to being, being in a relationship and being with somebody and being with you, being able to provide your family. Because people say, well, you can be in the home and not in the home.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Fact.
You can be in the
Fact.
home and not
Because
in
you
the
could
home.
just be a passerby.
Yep.
You ain't got to
Yep.
be, because it's not it's the quality of the time that you spend. Because the
Yeah.
time, you could be there all day long, but the time,
Hmm.
that don't mean nothing. The quantity, the number of minutes or hours that you're there, it's the quantity. Like, what are you doing with the
Hmm.
time home? But we
Yeah.
were talking. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you could be in the home with your kids and they still don't know you.
Facts. Or your spouse.
They still don't know you. So
Or your spouse. Mm-hmm.
those are things that you think about when, especially when we talk about Janet and Jermaine. But like you said, that seemed to be, like you said, the happiest she was in any
Yeah.
of her relationships
And
that
how
she
tall was he,
that she's
Leroy? How
He's
tall was
five
he?
five. They actually, both of them are like 5'4". I think is what I saw. They're both, they're like the same height, my height. That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, hey, if Jermaine can get Janet, I got hope.
Facts. And if you're tuning in for the first time, we all talk about that. Like Leroy is, like he said, 5'4". He's like, what is it? Tall, dark, and handsome, and all of this. Everybody is knocking people down if they're not a certain height. So that's why I said that. All right. So we talked about the journey. So let's talk
Yeah,
about the mail truck journey. The mail
yeah,
truck journey, like Leroy said, they did a lot between here and there. The whole movie was on the road for the most part. You
right.
have the beginning of the movie and you have the end, the tail middle to the end that's not on the truck. But the whole meat of the
Right.
movie is on the mail
Was
truck and the journey on the mail truck, getting on and off the mail truck. So
because
they
they
show,
didn't.
I love how they show the beauty of the highway. They
Yeah, yeah,
showed, like, he was very strategic in the cinematography of it. How, y'all know I like a good outdoor shot, and I like those. We talked about that when we were talking about Jumping the Broom. Like, I love that. I love the outdoor shots that a lot of movies, and John Singleton did this well in his cinematographer. So what was the first step? So the first step was the carnival or the
yeah.
picnic?
No, there
The
was a con.
carnival,
I think the carnival was first, and then the
then the
picnic. Yeah,
picnic.
then the picnic.
So the
Because the picnic.
carnival, we're a little lucky. So the carnival, they got a chance to stop, and it was a carnival they saw. So imagine you're in a car and you're taking a road trip. So when you see the Ferris wheels and you see all that, you like, oh, there's a carnival. And you like, well, let's go. See, I need a road trip like that. Let's just go. We drove across country from Vegas to the East Coast, and
Did
we
you?
got
Okay.
to see the stuff, but it wasn't like that.
Right.
Like where we were
Right.
getting out, having a good time. Like I was getting out, taking pictures. That's as far as it. But I love that. So they got out, all of them went to the carnival, they're having a good time. That's when Lucky and Justice are bonding. They're bonding a little bit in the truck, where it's silence and he's smiling at her, doing her poetry. And it's kind of a chill vibe. And you can start to see like they're both loosening it up. And then when they get out at the carnival, that's when they really kind of get a chance to talk. And it's almost like a little date. They're doing carnival things. And then they drive some more. They're getting to know each other more. They're talking. They stop at the convenience store, get the stuff, all of that. And then they stop at a family reunion picnic. And some Black folks, they like, that's our kin. Let's go. So Tupac got them thinking it's Lucky because they like, I don't know you. Where are you from? And Black people, everybody's related. He was like, I'm Lucky. And then he was like, Little Lucky. And they see that barbecue, that cookout, and they like, we going. That's lunch. So they all get out the truck and they participate in this family reunion, like to the point where they playing games, eating, talking. And then Isha gets involved with Aunt June, which is Maya Angelou, and she's telling people that Chicago is her husband, and she's sitting on his lap. And then the old lady's like, we don't see no ring.
Auntie know. Them ladies know, don't they? They know, don't they? They was like, she ain't no more than married than the man on the moon.
I was like, why did you can like
they gonna tell it. Them the ladies, the elder ladies of any family, they gonna tell you, nah, something ain't right. Something ain't right. Even if they gonna tell you if they like somebody, they gonna tell you if they don't like somebody. Like, yeah, he look a little funny, or she ain't, yeah, she a little fast one. You know what I'm saying?
That's why it's important. I learned that is to take people around your family. I learned that the hard way. Take them around your family. Don't be keeping them secluded, because your family could be like, nope, something ain't right. But people don't, and you got to take them around because they call it like they see it. And it had her because, again, Isha didn't really like Chicago, but she was kind of with Chicago because there wasn't nothing else to do, and they was having a
you think he was just convenient for her because she didn't have anybody else? Because you saw what happened at the picnic, when another dude showed interest in her.
That was disrespectful, though. She was disrespectful.
Yeah, that was very disrespectful.
With him, whether that's your boo or not, or you don't do that. That's messy. Like you can't, and that could have been your cousin. Y'all was at the family reunion. That could have been your cousin.
But that was an altercation waiting to happen. It really was. It really was. That was really, really. I mean, it was really disrespectful. And she had some drinks up in her, so she was really, what they say, they call it liquid courage. They say they really start to act out when you get that yak up in you, and you start to really act out how you really feel. And it's like, oh, that's just Chicago. I don't care about him. What he gonna do? What are you gonna do? That type of thing. But you gotta be careful when even, like you said, even if that's not somebody that you are interested in, go somewhere with somebody and then try to act like, oh, that's just a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And y'all supposed to be together.
She was wrong for that. She was wrong for that because what you think he gonna do?
Right.
Like, what you think he gonna do? He's gonna want to fight now because Lucky is with you and he ain't no punk. Then now he got to fight.
Right.
So now you causing all of this corruption and commotion, and then she was real disrespectful.
Yeah. Yeah, and and that led to once they got back in the truck, it was just like you know I mean, she was disrespectful, and then he came and got even more disrespectful by putting his hands on her, and that I don't care how bad somebody tries to make you feel, female or whatever. And trust me, there are gonna be people that try to push your buttons. They're gonna try and make you feel emasculated, which is what I think which is what I think her aim was.
Because
And
when you talk
he
about somebody's intimacy,
right,
you already
right,
know it's going to be a tender spot.
yeah, absolutely,
And they was playing in the
absolutely.
back of the mail truck. The mail just imagine that's your mail. They all over your mail.
And you don't control anybody's actions or reactions.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
only can control yours.
It's true.
And I tell people, you can say what you want to say all day, every day.
Yeah.
But what you don't do, what you can't do, is control somebody's reaction to what you say.
Mm-mm. Nope.
You
You
know?
can't control nobody's mouth. You can't make
Yep.
somebody say anything, and you can't make somebody not say anything. It's
Yep.
about how you respond.
Yeah. You
And
know.
that's the thing.
Yeah. And if you don't want to be with somebody, then don't use somebody just because. And I think we're in this.
Use them as a
In this.
placeholder type thing. And a lot of
Yeah.
people do that.
Just so that you don't have to be alone. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people do that, unfortunately. They're
Yep.
with people. They settle to be with somebody just to have somebody, and
Yep.
that's
Nope.
never a good thing.
Yep.
Never a good thing to be with
Yep.
somebody just to say you have somebody. That's just as bad as these corporations and companies out here that want to just have bodies in the
Yep.
in the company.
Yep.
It never works out. It
Yep.
never works out. When you have just bodies. And she didn't care about Lucky, and she was trying to use him for whatever reason.
Yep.
That was probably the excuse to be able, that was their way of being able to get to the hair show. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
And
So
also too, but her too, but she was messing with him for a minute. But then she needed to say what it was. Like, I'm not really into you. And I think that's what people fall short when they're just not honest. Like, hey,
right,
I'm not really
right,
into you,
right,
let's just kick it. Let's not get too serious or whatever. Like, it should be said, because even though he pretended he wasn't, he was feeling her. And then
right,
nobody want their ego shut down like that, where he's
right.
thinking, like, you don't know what he's thinking, or his feelings could have been more. So it gets to the
Yeah,
point where Tupac is not having it. They fighting in the back. He hits Isha. Isha
yeah,
starts fighting him back. Tupac throws him off the
right.
mail truck,
Out of the
and
truck.
then
Yep.
throws his brush with him, because he'd been brushing his hair the whole darn movie. And Tupac
I know it.
was like, I'm sick of you brushing your hair. I'm sick of that. And then he throws he kicks him out, and he walking down the street with his bag. Well, first he kicked Justice out, and
Yeah, because
Justice
they get
left
into an
out.
argument. She's
Yeah,
like,
they
pull over, pull
arguing,
over.
and she
That was
walked.
the funniest
That
scene.
was so funny when she was tripping over her bag. And she was wearing them jeans, though. Go ahead, Janet. Janet was
Yeah,
looking good in that
yeah.
movie.
Janet looked really good. Yeah.
Yeah, she was looking good. I said, "Come on, Miss Jackson." Um, she was tripping over that. She was tripping over that bag, and he started laughing. And she was like, "Where Justice?" And he was like, "I threw her blah 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 out." And she was like, "You can't just leave her on the road."
Right.
So then she goes back. And Isha's like, "Jay, come on, get on." And then she got her ego, and she mad she got kicked off, so she ignoring her. And they both laughing at her walking down the street with her bags like she really gonna walk to Oakland. And,
Right. From where they were out in the middle of
and
nowhere.
then after she threatens him, she said, "They still gonna F you up," but she gets back on. So then they're riding. And then, of course, he kicks Chicago off. And Chicago, like, wait a minute, you gonna choose these blanks over me? I'm your boy. He basically was like, I don't like you anyway. I'm not,
Yeah,
tolerating that.
Wayne
And I
like
got a
that. Yeah.
feeling that was Tupac and not
Yeah,
Lucky.
me too.
I have a
I
feeling
agree
it
with
was
you there.
Tupac.
Yeah.
And they ride kind of like in silence down to Oakland. He's gone. Justice is comforting Isha in the back.
That's what I was
And
going to say. Yeah, don't forget about that part too.
yeah, which was nice, because she went in the back of the truck with her friend to try to soothe her because of what was happening with him. So it was kind of quiet. And Lucky is in the driver's seat by itself up there and just kind of vibing and understanding and thinking. You could tell he's reflecting and, you know, all of that. So they finally get to Oakland. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say even before they
Oh,
get
the
to
beach.
Oakland, but the part
Beach.
with because you had mentioned about Isha being there for Justice and having
Mm-hmm,
that friendship that they
mm-hmm,
had, that bond that they
mm-hmm.
had. You know, the scene where Isha is drunk. She was sick and she's like, stop,
Like,
you
you
know, stop.
remind me of my own mother. You got to
Yeah,
stop this.
yeah,
Yeah, that
you
was
gotta stop that. So that was a part of that too, where Justice was there
taking
for
care of
Isha
each
too.
other.
Like, you drinking too much. You
Yeah.
know, you gotta stop this. It's not good. I don't want to lose you. You
Because
know.
she had 40s. She wasn't playing.
Oh yeah, she
Keisha
was.
was for real. She was real. She was true about it. Like, she
Yeah,
wasn't playing.
yeah. She took that 40 down.
Keisha was like Shanae on Martin. Remember Martin had Michigan.
Yeah, but yeah. So their friendship is something too that I think
Yeah,
that
solid.
stood out to me, that they
Yeah,
had with each other, being there for each other, even in the beginning when Justice was had lost her boyfriend, and her trying to Isha trying to get her out of that
yeah,
dark that darkness that she was
yeah.
in,
And
and
everybody
then
at her job, which I thought was nice too. Everybody was trying to get her
yeah,
out of that
yeah,
funk. Everybody was there for her. And then
yeah,
now when Isha needs her, you know, she's really telling her, I don't want you to drink no more. You gotta get your stuff together. And she
yeah,
like, I am, and just back there comforting her. Those were good sisterhood moments.
yeah, yeah,
For
definitely. And
sure.
then I'm sorry, but yeah, but once they get to Oakland, I should say they get even more drama starts, man.
Yes, but let's first talk about God before we get there, and then we talk about how love. So pretty much it showed that they were intimate on the beach. Pretty much that was the
Correct.
indication
Right.
where they pulled over again, and it was just Justice and Lucky, and they were on the beach. Like it made it seem like it was after everything, after the intimacy and all whatever happened, that
Right.
they were on the beach, and that's when they were becoming closer. They were falling in love, different little peaks into them falling in love. So he is all the way in, she's all the way in, she's smiling, he's smiling. Then they get to Oakland to the aunt's house, which is Jennifer Lewis. What happens, Leroy? They see the
Well,
ambulance. Then what?
yeah, but
Well, he
even
drops them off.
before they get out, he's like, "It's something I gotta tell you."
Yeah,
And Justice is like what? What you gotta tell me now? You wanna tell me?
Keisha.
you
Oh,
know,
we
and
forgot
he
about Tone Loc and Keisha. We forgot about all of that with Ricky Harris and them fighting with
Yeah,
Tupac.
we didn't get a chance to talk about that. Yeah, yeah, because Lucky has a daughter
Keisha.
and he has a baby mama that live in the hood,
That has
and like you
another
said,
baby with Tone Loc.
yeah, Tone Loc is the baby mama's new boy, current boyfriend or
No,
whatever,
it's
and
the
he
other father. It's the other father to the other child.
right, correct,
Because
correct.
remember that little boy, his son was like, I want to go too. Like, I want to go with you, Lucky. I don't want to be here with them.
And the thing was, well, they weren't even together because she was the woman, the mother. She wasn't even
With
with
another
Tone Loc.
guy. With
Yeah, she
another
was with another guy because they wound up beating him up because they in the house with her.
because
He in the house with her.
he's in the living room, the other one's coming in, and then one is in the bedroom with him. I'm like, good grief.
Yeah, so all of that was
It's
before
like,
they get
I
to
don't
Oakland.
I don't remember saying I do to any of you. I was like, oh,
You know
I
what I'm
said she's
saying?
out of control. She's out of control. That's bold right there.
Yeah,
That's
but
if I'ma do me was a person, it's her.
so when they get to Oakland, he tells her that he has a daughter. You know, he comes out and he tells her that he has a daughter. But before they get to the drop the mail off, which is why they went to Oakland, Lucky he wants to stop and see his cousin because that's where his cousin lives. Cousin and his aunt and his uncle. But they get there
It's
and there's a whole bunch of police cars and everything else around. And Lucky goes in because the door's open to where they live, and he's looking for his aunt and his uncle. And he's looking around. He sees the police cars and the ambulance, and he goes looking, and he sees his aunt because she's crying, and he figures out that's his cousin that got killed. So
And
Lucky,
he blames her because if he hadn't stopped it and fallen in love, he would have got there
he would have
sooner
got there.
than
Right.
later to protect his cousin. That's his mindset. So now,
Yeah.
after all the love and falling in love, now he's pissed at
Right.
where she let her guard totally down after she's
Yeah.
had the wall up for so many years. She lets it down. She's in love, and then he comes back with the what? It's your fault. If I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been playing around with you, I'd have been here to protect my cousin.
Yeah. And and like you said, she Justice is like, where did all this come from? We just had a moment.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So that kind of
Excuse me.
blindsides her. So he winds up, they wind up, I don't even remember if they went back. How they get, they didn't really talk about them getting back. I just know that they
No, they
were
dropped her off. He dropped Justice off at the hotel. And everybody, of course, is nosy from the
at the
salon.
show.
Like, oh, he's cute. He got a nice nose. That's what Tyra Farrell says. I remember that
I
part.
love her.
Yeah,
She's
me too.
yeah,
And
she's a great actress.
Washington
Yeah.
was in it. That's my boy. And he was like, I like him. I like them together. And they all talking about them. And it's good that she comes in. They show the montage of the collage of her doing what she's doing at the show and all of that. And then they get back to Crenshaw somehow, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, it would have been too long trying to really do that. And
Right.
I don't think that was relevant to the story
No,
anyway.
it
So
wasn't.
yeah.
So then
So
what
they
happens when they get back? Go ahead.
no, they do all of that, and then they're back in Crenshaw, and um Lucky figures out that he was wrong. He goes through everything that he went through with having to deal with his cousin, but but he wants to start back up with Justice. So he goes
And brings
into the
Keisha.
shop. Yeah, goes into the shop, and everybody's there. They see him, and he's there to see Justice, and she at first she didn't really
He brings Keisha to get her hair
yeah,
done.
yeah, he brings his daughter. Yeah,
And sees his nails are clean.
right, right,
And
right. So
he's like, why you got her out like this? He said, I did. That's just a male thing. I did her hair. Her hair is fine. You know, I've experienced that. My ex, I'd be
but
like,
that's
why
funny
is
because
her
that
hair?
is so true. But
It
that is so
is. It
true.
was true. And
That
they'd
is
be like,
real
you
right
don't
there.
see it. And the woman
Yeah,
be like,
we
this is out.
but it's funny because and I think about that because my dad would do my sister's hair, my youngest sister's hair. So he could put it put it in the plaits and stuff like that to make it look neat and good and stuff like that. But most guys we can't.
No, because I
we,
remember,
we,
when I gotten divorced and I would pick my daughters up and stuff, and I'd be like, but I said we was going to go somewhere when I picked it up. You'd be like, the hair's fine. I'd be like, Lord, and it's funny because y'all be thinking it's fine. So that reminded me of that when he was like, it's fine.
yeah,
She came, did
yeah.
it. She looked up. They noticed, and they were like, she ain't wearing black no more. She was wearing white with her hair up. The people call them poetics now. That's what it is, the braids. If you get the braids and you put it up, they'd be like, oh, she got those poetics. So it
Oh
even
wow, okay. I didn't
on
know that. Okay.
hair. Yep. They still to this day, if somebody has them, they'd be like, she got those poetics. Or I will go to the hair salon and be like, I want the poetics. And they know
Oh,
what that
cool.
big
Oh,
dookie.
okay.
Yep. So so of course they live happily ever after.
But I love the way it ends though with Janet, how she said, oh we didn't even say this at the beginning of the movie when the owner of the boutique
The salon.
and when they were messing with Tupac, and she's like, come here, let me whistle something,
Oh,
and yeah.
man, people still say that. Do you want to smell my poo? No. People still say that to this day. It came from the movie, and people still say it. And he was like, "Get out of here!" So she tried to do that at the end, like, come here, let me whisper something.
Yeah, he was like, nah.
No. But that seems so genuine and real. Like, it didn't even
Yeah,
seem like they were acting. That's why you can tell that the chemistry
yeah,
was
yeah,
there. So let's get
yeah.
some more trivia as we wind down. So EJ, the Mexican co-worker that was throwing the darts
Mhm.
at the post office, that was Janet Jackson's ex-husband. That was
Okay,
her
that was the because he was a dancer, wasn't he? Wasn't he?
Renee
Okay,
Elizondo. At the time of filming, he was married to Janet. The couple were
that's what I was
married.
going to say. Yeah, they were together at that time, weren't they?
That's why Regina King was treading lightly when she was talking about. If
Yeah,
you watch that documentary, I was like, you got to read them. You got to
yeah,
read like this
yeah.
between the
She
lines.
was here.
Right. She was trying to mess up, even though we know from the documentary what happened with him. But Janet Jackson also began dating rapper Q-Tip for a while after film production wrapped. I remember that. Q-Tip played her boyfriend Markel. But I
Yeah.
remember when they were dating, and they're still tight friends. He was on the documentary too. She had all her loves on the documentary. She had
Well, who
everybody
wouldn't
but
want?
Renee.
Come on now. Who wouldn't want to be? I don't care if I am an ex of Janet. Yeah, you need me to say something about you, Janet. What you want me to say?
Except Renee, she didn't want him on there because
Well,
all
yeah.
her friends thought that he was just for the come up, and it's because of her. He was almost like a rebound, and he was there.
Right,
So
right,
one
right.
minute you after we see him no more, but she had all the ex. She had Q-Tip on there. She had Jermaine Dupri. Come on now, she didn't have Bobby on there though.
Nah, she couldn't have Bobby. She couldn't have Bobby on
Bobby
there.
would have told too much. My boy Bobby would have told way too much because he
Yeah.
already told a lot in the book, in the movie.
Did he?
So
Okay.
he really told a lot. All right. So Regina King, Lloyd Avery II, Tyra Farrow, Derek Gobart, John Cothran. Those are all people that were in the movie. They all appeared together on Boys in the Hood. So, of course, he used the same people, which we know Boys in the Hood came out 2 years before Poetic Justice. It came out in 1991. Q-Tip, who played Justice ill-fated boyfriend Markel, collaborated with Janet on her 1997 hit Got Till It's Gone. Got It Till It's Gone. Director, writer John Singleton named his first daughter after the main character, Justice. John Singleton and Janet Jackson wrote the scene of Lucky and Justice meeting for the first time in the hair salon. So he and Janet wrote that.
Cool.
Janet caught a cold from Q-Tip during their kissing scene. That's probably why she wasn't playing with Tupac.
Yep. But yeah, nah, dude, you need to go get that test
We
done.
don't know that Q-Tip gave her that cold. We don't know that for 100% fact.
Yeah.
We don't know that. It could have, her immune system could have been low, and then that we don't know. We don't know. So John Singleton made Janet Jackson watch Two Women which is a movie in 1960, and also gave her a book of Maya Angelou poems to prepare for her role. In the movie, Tupac takes a road trip to meet up with his cousin, who was a rapper in Oakland, as we talked about. Tupac plays his cousin's music twice during the movie. So from the boombox during the break in the trip, and when Tupac visits the cousin's studio, the voice of his cousin belongs to R.I.P. West Coast rapper Coolio. And the songs featured are from his debut album, It Takes a Thief. At one point in the film, Justice is seen putting tobacco sauce on her popcorn. And now I knew this too. Janet's brother Michael also put Tabasco sauce on his popcorn in real life. I heard her
Yeah, my
talk.
grandma did that. My grandma did that.
Too.
Yeah.
My mom did that too. John Singleton originally tried writing his own poems for Justice, but struggled and ended up using Maya Angelou. All right, so if you got your poems and then you got access to Maya Angelou, whose poem you gonna choose?
Yeah, exactly. But even think about that too. When I think about Pac, because Pac was a poet as well.
Yes,
You
he
know,
was great.
even with his music, because music is nothing more than poetry put to
A
music.
great.
But even he was a poet as well too. So you know.
Yeah. I got something that's going to blow your mind. You already know. I already said Ice Cube was considered for the role of Lucky. But guess who was considered for the role of Isha? You probably will never guess. But now
Isha?
that but put it this way, when I seen her before, I wouldn't have been able to imagine it. But now I see her on a new project, and now I can imagine it completely.
Oh, you got me stumped on that one.
She's been
Isha?
acting since we were little.
Well, not Regina. No, well, no.
She's been acting since we were little. She was one of the only black.
Kim Fields.
Yup. Yup.
Mm.
But now that she played now with Mike Epps and how she is and in her regular personality, I can see it. With Tootie, I couldn't see it.
Well, you got to think this was 1990, 91 when he was probably casting.
Yeah, because they finished
So
rapping August 92.
yeah, so you figure, I mean, Kim Fields wasn't doing. I don't think she was doing a whole lot back then. Because I'm trying to think, the Facts of Life, that was late 70s, early 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But I can see
So
that. We gotta wind down because I got a
really, you can say.
I can see it
I
now.
think. Well, I mean, they got it. I think they got it right.
They did.
Huh?
All right, I'm gonna read a couple more. They did. They got it right. I'm gonna read a couple of more, and then we're gonna end. John Singleton's second choice. Yeah, John Singleton's second choice to play Justice after Janet Jackson was Monica Calhoun. I can see that.
Yeah. I like her. She's a good actress too.
Players Club. I can see that.
But you gotta remember, yeah, she wasn't who she is now though, because you gotta think Players Club hadn't come out back then, so she wasn't a known actress back then.
No. All right, so John Singleton started writing Poetic Justice in early 1991 during the editing process of Boys in the Hood while working on the sound. He started writing the script on February 1st, 1991 and finished up in August, so he wasn't playing no games. Yeah. John Singleton also had an idea for a scene which took place at a swap meet where Justice and Isha would talk about men. Isha would end up buying hair to bring to Justice braid shop. So we saw part of that. We saw her come in with the braids. Remember, it was with the packs of hair and stuff. But I guess we had a scene up to that we didn't see. All right, we're talking about Poetic Justice here. Tupac Shakur, Janet Jackson, you got Q-Tip, you got Regina King, you got Tyra Farrell, you got Keith Washington, you got Jennifer Lewis, Maia Campbell, Ricky Harris, Tone Loc, and that's just all by memory. That's a star-studded cast. So if you haven't seen it in a while, I saw that it is right here on YouTube for free. Yeah. So if you have not seen it in a while, definitely check out Poetic Justice. Let us know what your favorite part is and what's your favorite character and your scene in this movie. Drop it in the comments. Anything you want to say, Leroy McKenzie, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., put some respect on your name.
Say I'm lucky. Little lucky? Yeah, lucky.
lucky.
Cousin.
Cousin,
and you know, we fall right into it too. You want a plate? Hey, go get you a plate.
Yeah, and Cotton Pete. How many times now do we say Cotton Pete? We say Lil Lucky.
Yeah,
we say let me come here. We say a lot when it comes to this.
Yeah, we're such a loving and giving people. We don't care. Come on in, because I think I've said it before. My grandmother's house, man. You go in there and it's liable to be anybody that roll up in there. You know, that was just how we were. You know, everybody was welcome. Anybody could get a plate. You know what I'm saying?
And when at my grandmother's house, you could not leave without getting a plate, or she pushed that plate down your throat. She make you eat.
I still to this day hear my grandma's voice. You hungry, baby?
Oh,
you know.
We knew my grandmother died. My grandmother died. It'll a year and a half ago in September. She was my one grandmother. She was 102, and we knew she started getting old when she started burning the pots. When we'd be there, the spaghetti be burnt at the bottom. They'd be like, she'd be like, let me fix y'all something. We'd be like, nah, grandma, we gonna order. When we go visit, we gonna order. That's what we knew. My grandmother used to bribe me with potato salad. She used to be like, that's all right. That spaghetti be stuck at the bottom of that pot. We like, no, this ain't grandma's cooking. Because later in life, she started just wanting to make spaghetti. She wasn't doing all that extra stuff she was doing. And then the spaghetti was good for years. And then when we start seeing that burn, that whole bottom of the pan was burnt, we was like, nah, grandma, we good. We ordering you some food and we gonna do that. But when I was little, my grandmother used to bribe me to come over. She'd be like, I'm making peach cobbler, my potato salad, because I used to love her potato salad and peach cobbler.
Yep.
And she used to make this, what was it called? Ambrosia. Did your grandmother make that ambrosia? There was the marshmallows fruit cocktail.
Really? No.
And she used to make the sweet potatoes, and she used to put it in the orange. She used to cut out the orange, because you know that put some of the little orange juice on the sweet potatoes, mash them up, whip them, put them in the orange peel, and put them back in the oven with some marshmallows. What you saying? Good.
Yeah, we don't get cooking like that anymore. You know what I'm saying?
No,
it's just,
no. But everybody, Leroy, what should they do as we leave so I can get ready for?
You definitely want to make sure.
Yeah, if you're still on YouTube at 6:30, which is about 10 minutes, actually, I'll be doing my show, Lenice Live, interviewing Hugh Williams. He's a Baltimore photographer, but he's just not limited to Baltimore. We're going to talk to him about his journey in photography. All right, Leroy.
Yeah, make sure you hit that notification bell. Click the bell so that you can know any and every time that Miss Kendall is going to be here on YouTube for you all. You want to make sure you click that like, subscribe, and comment, and most of all, share it, y'all. This is just a way to get away from the rigmarole of every day. We bring back just some good memories. That we have. I mean, this, like I said, this takes us back. It's 30, Poetic Justice is 30 years old this year. 30 years ago, man. 30 years, y'all. So, you do that, and hopefully what we do, you enjoy, you have some fun, and you think about the same things that we think about when we talk about these movies, and give you just our version of it. It's more than just a movie, y'all. As y'all can tell, it's more than just a movie.
That's it. And as I say always, I couldn't do this show without my brother. Me and him, we just thing going on. We're not me and Mrs. Jones, but we do got a thing going on. And it's more than just a movie. Leroy and I watch movies similarly. So I love the fact that we do it like this, bringing in everyday life and then reminiscing on the movies that we're reviewing. All right. Love you, man. Everybody, thank you so much for watching.
Deuces.
Lenice,
I'll be watching you and Hugh. So.
Cool. Your star don't allow anyone to dim your shine. Until next time, God bless. Peace. Keep watching the movies. Let us know what your favorite movie is and what movie you want us to do next. Bye for now, y'all. God bless.